Hello everybody, Drifty here from Driftwood Gaming, and we're going to continue our Let's Make a Game series on the Dungeons of Driftwood. Welcome back to everybody who decided to join the live stream. We're live streaming this on twitch.tv/driftwoodgaming. You could also follow me on twitter.com/driftwoodgaming to receive updates about what I'm doing and when I'm posting new stuff, or just to ask me special requests. So we are on episode number 7, and we've done a ton of changes. I've made a ton of different adjustments to the game. We're still doing the basic infrastructure and system building, but we're starting off by looking at this map that Noob KX made. And we're going to eventually move all of the systems into this town, so as soon as you escape the dungeon, the initial story mode of the dungeon, you'll be able to do all sorts of things in this town. But for now, we have everything kind of consolidated inside of the hub. All of the systems we have in place here. So, I mean, just so many different things have changed. Let's go back into the database and take a look at things that I've adjusted and changed. Let me know if the audio levels are right, if the music's too loud or not loud enough. I think I've got it pretty much locked down to be where it needs to be. But I see the chat log here. If you guys have any things to say, go ahead and put your comments there, and I'll read them as we go through the Let's Make a Game episode. Nothing has changed for the classes or the actors. There's still only 2 actors right now. Your first, what am I calling it? Avatar or familiar. We're going to eventually have 5 to 8 of these. And maybe make a mercenary system so you can have a third party member. As for the skills, I've created a few different skills to help me test things, like the I win button, just to, instantly kill stuff. That won't be in the game. As for new skills and new spells, I've created the focus energy, which I made a tutorial on. If you want to see how to do this in more detail, I have a tutorial on youtube.com/driftwoodgamingmv. But scrolling down here, I've done some adjustments to some of the damage formulas, and I've changed the basic attacks to include new types. So we're going to jump ahead to the types real quick, because Yanflight came out with this new plugin. It's super awesome. It's called the Element Core. If you haven't heard of it, check it out. He's got a tutorial on it and he describes it, but I'll go over it a little bit. Really neat plugin. Basically, it lets you do something that I've wanted RPG makers to do for the longest time, and that's to use multiple elements on one item or skill. So you can have like a flaming storm, and it does like wind element and fire element. Or you can, the way that I'm using it, you can have it so that your weapons not only do physical damage as a normal attack, but they'll do like blunt damage or piercing damage or slashing damage. So I've created a few new elements. Let's look, there it is. So many plugins now. So there's only one parameter to the element core here, the multi-element rulings, and this is just going to be like how it's calculated when you add bonuses. Is it going to multiply them, or is it going to add them together? It's defaulted to multiply them, but I've changed this to 1 to add the element types together. I'm not concrete on how I want this to be, but for now I'm going to leave it on 1. But you can go through the help file, see everything that you can do. I might make a tutorial on this later, but in this Let's Make a Game, I want to go over the changes. So let's get back to the database. So the game is starting to come together. I'm really excited about everything that's been put into place. I think we should probably do the database, and then I'll go over the events first. So in the skills you see right here, we're including the element core note tags, multiple elements. So in the types, we have some new types. We have slashing type, piercing type, and blunt type. And what this is going to do is let me customize my weapons a little bit more. So an axe and a sword, even if they have the same damage formula, they'll still be calculated a little bit different, because the enemies will have certain resistances to certain types of damage that you can specify right here by going to element rate. So now if I wanted this Drake to be super strong against, like, say, slashing, I can go like this, and it's going to take half damage from slashing weapons, but say they're weak to piercing weapons, I can do something like this, and they'll take 50% more damage or 200% for double damage to piercing weapons, you know, and that lets you create a little bit more realism in what kind of weapons you should use. Obviously, if you're fighting like a skeleton, you don't want to attack it with knives or a spear because that's piercing damage. It's not going to do too much damage. However, if you use like a mace or a flail on it, that's blunt damage. It's going to completely wreck a skeleton, right? So that's sort of the idea I'm going with on that. So we're achieving this by keeping everything the same, creating our weapon replace with a normal attack, but we're creating a note tag here called multiple elements, and we're adding slashing and piercing to the swords. So they have, you know, normal element and slashing and piercing, and that's going to make it a little bit more interesting. So not only do we have different damage formulas, but we have different types. Moving on down. Created a few new skills in honor of some of the people who made special requests and just people who have helped me out. Like Tassassin is the guy who did the opening art for the title screen of the game. So I'm gonna make a few things with his name on it. For the items, I've already gone over these. I don't want to recover ground that I've already... I think I've talked about this box in the last episode, so I don't want to do that. But we've added quite a few different things. So for stones, we've got ability stones, advanced ability stones, rare ability stones, legendary, and ultimate. All of these things are going to be the items you need for some of the new systems. So some of the new systems that we put into play, I think we should go to the events real quick. So here we are, we have shop processing for all of these different items, but I think instead of looking at the events, a good idea would be just to jump into the game and show you what it looks like inside the game. So we're going to do that super fast. We're using Yanfly Save Core. Looks really nice. Alright, so here's our hub. Like I said, most of these events will be moved to the town once we have everything in order. So our gear swap. We have the option to trade in old items for tokens or gear points. That's what I'm calling it. And to achieve that, I'm using Yanfly's alternate currency plugin. And that's letting me create different items as a form of currency. You can see we have our gold price, but we also have gear points that we'll need in order to get these next tier items. So all items have been, all of the tiers for helmets and armors, for chest pieces, basically all of the metal oriented stuff has been added. I'm still going to add the leathers and the cloth for different resistances. Like for example, all of these metal based armors are really high on vitality, which is like your defense, but basically it's defense, but I've renamed that to vitality, and I've created a skill which is just a custom variable for defense. And all of these metals are going to have a high vitality, but say the cloth armor, they're going to have a low vitality, but they're going to have a high willpower, and willpower is just magic defense. So depending on what you're fighting, if you're going to have to fight a mini boss or a mega boss and you know it's a caster, you may want to take off some of your metal armors and put on cloth armors so that you can be more resistant to the damage. We have different tiers, the same as in my last game, except these have been more fully customized, where we have, you know, different prices, different crafting requirements. But you can see they're all color coded and looks pretty nice. And we've also done the weapons. One cool thing about the weapons is they have colors on the icons now, thanks to Yanfly once again. So this is kind of cool to even look at them all in a list like this, because you can see how many different icons and colors that you're using. It breaks up the, you know, it doesn't seem so boring looking at the same color. It's kind of cool. I like that. It's a little thing. But they're all basically, a staff will be the same number of points that would award a claw, that would award to a sword, in just a different way of allocating those points. We'll take, for example, the daggers to start off. So you see that it's giving 10 strength, 10 wisdom, 10 speed. So it's giving you 30 attributes for the first tier. If we go down to the bronze sword, which is the same tier, it's not adding any speed or anything, but it's adding 20 strength and 10 vitality. So the sword is still giving 30 points, but just distributed differently. And they also use a different damage formula. All of these weapons are using weapon replace from Yanfly. So they're all balanced. Of course, if there's anything that needs to be changed, I could always just adjust the stats on the enemies themselves to make up for balance. So that's pretty much it for the gear swap. And the name of this NPC, some of you may recognize the name Damian Floyd. He's been a Patreon backer for a long time. He's an awesome guy. And I've sort of replicated his icon here to the best of my ability. I think it looks pretty much the same as his icon on Patreon. But thank you again, Damian, if you're watching. Actually, all of these NPCs are named after Patreon backers. So this is going to be the item vendor, nothing special here, just some items I've created. And they do, I think I've already gone over the items. I don't want to retrace too much of the same ground. So here's an interesting thing. We have the item synthesis, and we're doing it a little bit different from Legend of Driftwood in this, so that you can't craft anywhere. You actually have to go to the crafters to synthesize new items, which is kind of neat. You can disassemble from anywhere though, once you've got the items. So you talk to him, he lets you know what types of items that you can actually upgrade to +1, +2, +3, and lets the player know, like, what does a +1 mean, what does a +2 mean. The +1 is like double the power of the initial item, +2 is 3 times, +3 is 4 times, and there's no such thing as a +4 item, as far as you know. And there's some items that you have to desynth into stones, which is why I moved into the events from looking at the database, items in the database. You have to desynth items into stones and use those stones to upgrade them into +1, +2 versions. So if you ask for information, that's what he says. If you tell him to desynth items, then he's gonna check. It's a conditional statement in the event here that checks if you have a key item. And if you have the desynth key item, then he'll tell you something different, but we don't have it yet. So he's gonna let you know that you can desynth your items for ingots, but you could also sell them to the gear swap for gear points. So once you get these items, there's more than one thing that you can do with them. You could use them. Once you've already gone to the next tier of items, you could sell them for gear points, or you can you can desynth them and turn them back into ingots, which you can use to create other items. Or those ingots that those items create can be sold for another form of currency called greenbacks, which is I'm going to add in the lapidary arts. And what you can do with those gems is create enchantment items to place enchantments. So it's all tied together, and I've spent a lot of time balancing this and making sure that all the numbers line up so that one system isn't too strong and one system isn't too weak. And there'll be some more tweaks. It's so early in the game that all the numbers aren't finite, but they're pretty concrete. They're pretty solid right now, but they're not 100%. That's what they're going to end up as. You know. In order to desynth, first you'll have to have an item to do it. But once you ask this NPC about desynth, he will give you the item. So you get the desynth item. You get a little bit of music effect. Now that we've got our desynth item, key item, that's going to let us target any item and turn that into ingots. So we have some items here. Let's just take apart this bronze helmet. So I was talking about the enchant system, which is what I'm going to be working on in this episode a little bit. I'm going to start adding enchantment type items. This is sort of works like in a Final Fantasy VII kind of way with materia, where you socket items into upgrade items into an item, which can be removed, which is pretty neat. The other way of enchanting, which I'm not sure if I'm going to use, I used it in the Legend of Driftwood, where you just use a consumable item and it permanently enhances that item. I might actually tack that on somewhere, but I'm going to see how these socketable materia type enchantment system works and if it's actually necessary, because the other way of enchanting is undoable. So if you put an enchantment on a weapon, you can't take it off, but see, this way you can. So, but like I said, we can descent this now, and we've got our book that'll let us know what we're going to get and allow us to descent it. So when we take apart this bronze helmet, we're going to get a bronze ingot. We got our bronze ingot. We could do the same thing if we wanted to descent the iron helmet, and all the items are already set up in the database. So what we can do, I'm going to get back to the skill points in a second. What we can do with these ingots is craft items that I haven't made yet, extra stuff, or you can sell them for greenbacks, and the greenbacks are going to let you buy gems from the lapidary arts, which is going to be added right here. So let's look at one of the other items, different systems I've added in the game. So at the beginning of the game, all of my variables are being declared right here. So all of these variables are basically skill levels that is going to be checked by using different damage formula. Hi Zarzla, I see you. And whenever you're using variables in a damage formula, you have to declare them at the beginning of the game. Otherwise your skills are going to do 0 and it's going to create weird bugs. So you can see in the damage formula, we are calling on a variable right here, and this is how you would do it. If you want to use a variable in your damage formula, it's not hard. All you have to do is type a V, open up brackets, put in the number of the variable, and close the brackets, and then it's going to look for that number. So for example, in this skill, Flame, it's going to do fire damage. It's going to take the caster's magic attack power times 8, subtract that number by the target's magic defense. It's also going to subtract your fire resistance skill, because this is a skill that's for the enemies. So I think I've covered this a couple of times already, but all of my skills have multiple copies. So you have a copy that the player gets and you have a copy that the enemy gets. So for this one, we can see that we're subtracting another thing here. So variable 42 is our fire resist skill. It's always a good idea to keep notes when you're using systems like that. So if I look at variable number 42, I wrote that down as a fire resist. So the more you level up your fire resist, the less damage you're going to take when an enemy casts flame on you. But if we go to up here, where we have the player skills, we can see that we're using, for the fire skills, we're using variables 1 and variable 2 inside the damage formula. So we're doing the caster's magic attack power times 4, plus our elemental skill level, which is a variable I created, times 4, plus our fire skill variable times 8, which is another, just control variable, and use that in the damage formula, and you can basically create your own systems with in-game global variables. It's pretty neat. And then we're subtracting from the target's magic defense. So all of the skills are custom. They also are using Yanfly's equipped core. So when you put when you equip this skill, it's adding a state, and you're also getting a stat bonus for just equipping the skill. So let's look at how you would upgrade your skills. So how you actually get skill points is probably, it's not 100% decided. I'm probably going to make it so that at the end of the dungeon, which is basically 5 fights, and then you flip a switch and you fight a little mini boss. At the end of the mini boss, I'm probably going to make it guaranteed you're going to get a skill point. So even if you don't level up, you're still going to be able to make progression with your character by these skill points. So you use your skill points, and it's going to open up a menu, and it's going to let you select whatever skill you want to increase. So all of the skills, except for chemistry, which will be leveled up in a much easier way. Use an item, it's calling a common event on all the items that adds 1 to your chemistry, and all items are affected by the chemistry skill, which will like increase how much it heals or how much damage it does in a way that kind of like pharmacology, but not percentage based, just set damage, or increasing the number. So you select a skill you want to level up, and that'll affect the variable, which will be called upon in a skill, which will let you do more damage or take less damage depending on what you pick. So there's quite a few different skills to choose from. We'll just say elemental. We get a little animation. It tells the player we've got our skill levels increased, and it brings us to our status menu so that we can quickly see what our current skills are. The reason why I had to open up the status menu or push a different scene at the end of that common event is because of the event mini labels. Bringing me to my next thing, you may notice this time we have names on everything. These little mini labels are on all the events right now. So you can, it helps the player know what's going on or where to go, or if they want to do something, they can figure out what they have to do. If I want to buy potions, you could either look at the potions on the table there, or you can see consumables. If you want to craft an item, well, item synthesis is right here. It just helps, and it looks really nice. But the problem that I was encountering when I was showing a picture for the common event for the skill points, it would still show all the mini labels right here. So I had to do something that would get rid of the mini labels. So I had to do a plugin command that would hide all the mini labels. But then I used another plugin command to show mini labels, and it wouldn't show them until I switched to a different scene. Like if I pressed escape, or I went to my items, or I went to a different map, they would come back, but not immediately. And so I thought, okay, if I use the plugin command for refresh, that would work, but it didn't. So in order to get out of not showing the mini labels on this screen, as well as having the mini labels come back without switching maps, I had to push a scene at the end. So we'll look at that common event next. You can see all the mini labels are gone, but once we get pushed to another scene, even if we go back, all the mini labels come back. So player wouldn't even really notice that, but it's something that I noticed. So we're using Yanfly's save core. So we use the save and restore point, which is infinite use inside the hub or the town or wherever I place this, and it'll let you save your game. You can have up to 30 save files, which I could change this super easily. But I really like Yanfly's save core because we have the option to delete save files. We have the option to show different variables on the save screen, so you can see your skill levels right here on the save screen. Now, it would be cool if I had the ability to add a 5th tab. I don't know if that'll be added or not, because look at how much room we still have in between here, all this dead space. We could push all these over and have a 5th tab or a 6th tab. The reason why is because I still have all of the resistance skills that I didn't have room for, but that's okay. All of the skills except for the resist skills are on here, so you can see your current skill levels. I plan to add a few more like crafting type skills, so I would like to have more space here, but that's I'm nitpicking. That's not even necessary at all. I did receive a request to make these events above the player, which I heard you, and like I said I was going to do. I actually did that, so now they're above the player. You can venture deeper into the dungeon. Added mini labels here too. Still need to create the enemy events, and like I said, it won't be random encounters. It'll be events placed on the map that the player can avoid if they want to. Got our armors, we already seen that. We got our weapons. Consumables, we already did that, and the item synthesis. So when we go to synth new item, we have a sub menu here. I actually need to add weapons really quick, but I'll show you guys. So when you craft armor, they're all going to be gray until you craft them, and then once you craft them, they'll be colored in. So instead of blanking them out and having question marks, I thought it would be a good idea just to show the player, what they're crafting instead of just having to waste ingots on it. And to make it so that you can tell if you've crafted it or not, you can it'll show the colors after you've crafted it, and I could illustrate that right now. So the rings And certain other items will be requiring different items, not just ingots, like, you know, the armors would require ingots. So this leads me back to the stones that I was talking about. So since we're using Yanfly's skill equip core, or skill equip skills, man, there's so many plugins. Let's just look at it really quickly. Equipped battle skills, that's the name of the plugin. Since we're using this, we're allowed to have a certain number of slots, and that's going to basically make it so that even if you have like 100 abilities, you can only equip so many. But I'm also allowing all of the abilities to give some certain bonus. So some abilities you'd want to have and use, you'd want to equip even if you don't plan on using it. That way you can get stat bonuses from it or passive states applied to it and whatnot. But I had to make some sort of way to increase the ability for the player to have more than, you know, 4 skills. So I created these new armors called Rings of Expansion, and these are basically going to let you have more equip slots. So if you put on a Ring of Expansion, you know, you're going to get an additional skill that you can equip. And there's also limitations because of another plugin that I'm using, which lets me tier the different skills that you get. So let's look at our skills. So here we have our equip skills, and we'll be able to equip skills. We are using Yanfly's skill learn system, which is requiring certain items. We're not using job points in this game, but all of your skills will be learned by killing creatures that use that particular skill. So lightning sprites will drop, you know, their essence, and then you get enough of those and you can unlock the lightning skill. So it makes sense in a Mega Man style. Some of these skills don't have any cost because they're basically testing right now. But when you first learn your skills, if you have free slots, it'll put those skills in an open slot. But if you want to switch them out, you know, you can always just switch them out to different stuff. How I'm going to handle the weapons and armors is I'm allowing the player to have many possible equips. Since I'm limiting you on how many characters you're going to be able to have, you're going to be able to have one familiar or avatar out of a possible 5 to 8. You'll have to pick one of them. The rest of them you'll either have to sacrifice them by turning them into items, or I'm not sure how I want to do that. Maybe you'll get a skill, or you can get that avatar. You know, you can select, do you want to get the avatar in your party, or do you want to have that avatar turn into a skill that you learn, or do you want to have that avatar turn into a weapon or piece of armor or gear? So you'll have 5 to 8 different like key points in the game where you have to make a decision that's irreversible, but you'll only be able to take one of them as a party member, so that leaves you to 2. And you'll also, I'm planning on making some sort of mercenary system so that you can have a third party member that is like, you know, not going to be as strong as you and use the variables that you do. They'll still be using the enemy versions of skills and stuff, but you'll have another way to customize a party member. So if we look at how many different things we can equip the weapon, a shield, a headpiece, 2 earrings, a neck, back, shoulders, chest, 1 waist, wristbands, like gloves, 4 rings instead of 2, because you're going to have lots of different things you can do with these. For example, the expansions, the rings of expansion will let you have more skills, so you'll be able to get more skills by sacrificing your ring slots for that. Leg armor, feet armor, 2 relics. So altogether, quite a few. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 20 different items that you'll be able to equip and beef up your character. In the status, basically added icons to all of the states and all of the skills and the element types. We can see we have different states in the game right now. You know, your standard sort of blind, poison, silence, but also added some custom ones, and there'll be more, quite a few more states to come. You may recognize these states from The Legend of Driftwood as well. course, they've been changed in this game. Most of the things that I ported over from previous games have been modified heavily. And then the skill levels, so you can quickly reference. Luckily, we have room for all of the skills, unlike the save core, where we have to not show all of these resist ones. But that's okay. Here we can see them all, and we have room for more if we need to. We'll probably put crafting skills down here with a space or something. Another thing, the sync monitor frames per second we have as well. So this will be toggleable. You can have that on or off, and this is going to help some people who have issues running the game at 60 frames per second. This will help them so that they can run it at 60 frames per second. Okay. Pretty much gone over most of the changes, except going over like in detail of all the items. So all of these items have been added, rings of ability, to allow you to have, oh, there was one thing. That's what I was going to show you. So you can have 4 skills equipped, right? But you can see the top here, we have like skill tiers, right? We can have 4 basic abilities, 4 advanced abilities, 3 rare abilities, and so forth. But you can only have 4 total equipped right now. So you get rings of expansion, and you'll be able to have more than 4 slots, and that's for skill slots. But there's also rings that let you have more of a certain ability. Maybe you have, say, 5 rare abilities, but you only have room to equip, you know, 3 of them, and you've got 5 or 6 or 10 slots available. So you would use a ring of rare ability to increase the number of rare abilities you can have, and then you'll be able to equip more of those rare abilities. And in order to craft these items, you'll be able to find the tier 1 items like this one, and this one without the pluses on them. But in order to make the +1 version, you'll have to convert these items into ability stones. And you'll be able to convert them freely, so that if you turn your ring of ability into an ability stone, you could always turn it back into a ring of ability. No big deal there. But what this is going to let you do is, say you find a bunch of rings of ability, you know, and you're already wearing 4 of them, and you've got 10 of them. Well, why don't you just turn those 10 into stones, and then craft the +1? And now you have a ring of ability +1, which gives you an additional slot. Same thing for the expansions. Haven't added the note tags for these expansion ones, but I've added the note tags for all of the other tiers, for all of the ability tiers. Created a new system, which I still have to design all the skills for, the alchemy kit, which is going to use the chemistry skill, but it's going to be a relic that you can equip, and when you wear this, it's going to grant you the ability to a whole nother class of skills, you know, which will be mixing skills. So we'll probably add skill type, and we'll add the 4th skill type, so let's do that right now. Chemistry. I also need to add the chemistry to a plugin so that it doesn't remove it like it does most other skills. So let's figure that out real quick. I think it is in that same plugin we were looking at, not equip requirements. It was the equipped battle skills. That's the one. There we go. So I think somewhere in here, or no, maybe it's the tiers. Oh no, it's this one. EBS allowed skill types. It's an extension plugin for the equipped battle skills. And this is going to be where you can specify the skills that you want the player to be able to have in addition to the skills that you can equip. So 3 for basic, which will be changed and removed, and we'll add 4. I don't think we need a comma. I think that'll work just like that. That way, if the player is granted, let's just test it out. Let's get an alchemy kit here. Alright, so our alchemy kit is going to grant a skill type of chemistry. So equipping the alchemy kit in your relic slot will grant you the skill type of chemistry, and it'll increase the damage that items do by 10%, as well as the healing items do by 10%, in addition to your chemistry skill. So this is where I'll handle it in the damage formulas for all the items, for checking your... When you look at this item, it'll show your current chemistry skill. That's what this whole thing is right here. When you do /V and then brackets the number, this will show you the value that's stored in your variable number 64. So I want to test this in game just to see that it unlocks it. Should work. If not, I know I just need to add a comma. Got our alchemy kit. Let's equip our alchemy kit to a relic slot. You can see it shows it right here. Our chemistry skill is 1, so that's why there's a 1 there. So we should have chemistry. There it is. Chemistry is unlocked. Very, very nice. Let's just test it in battle really quick. Make sure that it's going to allow us to use it. Skill. So it's letting us use basic, but it's not giving us the chemistry. So let's figure out why that is. Maybe because there's no skill in it. Let's just do a test skill really quickly. Chemistry skills. We might as well make one. Let's find a nice icon for it. And we'll call this Regen Potion. I think I can do a state command here. Let's look at our states. I've already made a regen, so we're gonna just add state 11. This is all that item's gonna do, or the skill. Adds regeneration, and that'll show the icon too, for however long that lasts. Let's look at the state again. I need to check how many rounds. For 5 rounds, okay. It's always good to inform the player of what a skill is going to do, how long it's going to last, if it adds any bonuses. And the cost for this, we're probably going to use Yanfly's consume items. We're going to add this to the chemistry, and we're going to say it's going to target 1 ally. Occasion, why not always? I think that'll be fine. Maybe not cost any MP or TP, because we'll put the cost in the note tags. So we'll say uses, and we're going to have it add a state of regen. Now, what item is it going to consume? We could have it consume a potion. I mean, instead of just granting 200 HP, it can consume a potion. Probably do that. As a matter of fact, it's a chemistry skill. This is going to be one of the skills where the more you use it, the stronger it gets. So we'll copy this common event. I'll take a look at it real quick. Very small common event. All it really does is controls a variable and adds 1 to the chemistry skill. So this is going to be like a standalone skill that doesn't operate like your resists or other sort of things. Pixel, thanks for the host, man. Yeah, I could do the cam, but I don't feel it's necessary for these sort of things. Maybe I will. Okay, so our chemistry skills is our chemistry is being leveled up when we call on this common event. So let's call on this chemistry common event after it adds the state of regen, and we'll have it consume a potion. But in order to do that, we need to figure out what plugin we're using and the note tags that we need to put in place for it to do that. So let's find the plugin. It's like skills consume items or skills cost items or something like that. Here it is. It's expansion plugin. Skill note tag. Item X cost that. Perfect. We'll just copy this. Go to our regen potion. We'll say item number 110. Cost 1. Probably change this around, just putting it together to test something else too. We'll give it an animation, and definitely want to make some more custom animations. For now, we'll use like star 1. I don't even remember what that looks like. Let's take a look. I like this track. I would probably want to use that for an offensive ability. Let's take this poison animation. Let's create a custom one really fast. Paste it here as a template. Let's change the color of this to more of like a maybe a red or a yellow or something like that. And let's change the sound effect. That's fine. Let's change the color to a little less green, a little more red, a little more blue, a little less blue. And we'll have that flash that color. Same with this. Yeah. Actually, I'm going to cut off the last frame, just the last 2 frames. A little faster. We'll rename it to Regen Potion. Alright, but probably give this a custom name like Vial of Regen. Vial of Regeneration. Because it's not, we're consuming an item, but we're making it as a skill, so we'll just call it something different. Vial. And Vial looks more like this, so we'll probably go with that. Okay. I believe I set the note tag up right. Val made that a chemistry. So now that, well, we still have to teach it to the player. So just for testing purposes, we're going to start Survivor with level 1. Chemistry skills, there it is. So now we have the, once we put on the alchemy kit, we'll have the, or is the chemistry set? I forgot what I named it. But once we put on this relic, we'll unlock the alchemy kit, right? Actually, I should probably call it a chemistry set, since we're using the word chemistry details. So we'll put this on. We unlocked the skill type, right? But we were automatically awarded this skill at level 1. So we already had this Vial of Regeneration skill, but we didn't have the ability to use it yet because we didn't have the ability to use any chemistry type skills. However, there's one thing I need to change inside the plugin of equipped battle skills. So there's this thing called all equipable, a parameter in the Yanfly's equipped battle skills. And what this will do is let you equip any skill of any type, whether the character knows it or not. And I think it was set to false, and I changed it to true, but I'm going to put it back to false. That way, you saw how we already had it in skill slot 1, but I don't want it to consume any skill slots at all. So now we'll award the skill type if we need to learn a skill. So one thing I'll also have to do is give the character ability to use certain skills in the class or the actors. So he could already use this as I was testing something, but I'm going to add them in here. So we're going to go add skill type. He can use magic. That way he'll be able to equip those types of skills, and he'll be able to equip text, and also that's it actually, because chemistry, we don't want to be able to have that unlocked without using like an alchemy set or a chemistry kit. I like how that sounds, chemistry kit. Alchemy kit sounds cool too. Chemistry. Now we'll copy pasta. There we go. Alright, so let's look at it now and make sure it's right. So we automatically learned Vial of Regeneration at the beginning, but it's not in our skill learning system because we don't know chemistry by default. We do know magic and text. We have the ability to learn skills, but let's put on our alchemy kit and see. It might actually still equip it to the system. That's why we're testing it. Oh good, it didn't. Nice. But if we go to chemistry, there it is. Adds regeneration for 5 rounds. Cool, so let's see if it's usable in combat. That's the main thing that we were trying to approach. Please be there. It's not there. Okay, so we have our skills, but it's not showing us chemistry skill here. Using Yanfly's battle equip plugin so we can actually switch out stuff in combat, which is kind of cool. At the cost of a round, I think, or you can specify that in the plugin parameters. We don't have any skills there. I don't know if I talked about this last time, but I've increased the size of the weapons. I've already talked about the size of the battler, but I've increased the weapon size so you can let's see if we can escape real quick. Okay, cool. So I want to go through a couple different weapons to show you. It said bronze dagger, but we actually got a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, you guys already saw dagger. Let's go to sword. That's what the sword looks like. And they're all different colors too, so the reason why it looks orange is because we're using the bronze one. But if we were to equip, say, like a silver one, it would be bright white. Now, this doesn't look exactly like a katana, looks because it's a beam blade, but until we get different color katana ones, we're going to use the beam blade for that. The rest of them are pretty accurate. Staff looks like a staff. Staff is using magic attack power though, so it has a little bit of a, you know, flashier icon. The flail. And you may notice that we're doing different amounts of damage, but they're all the same tier. Two reasons. This enemy has resistance to slashing damage because he's wearing plate mail. He has vulnerability to piercing damage, and he has actually no change from blunt damage. But some of these weapons have more than one property. You know, the dagger is only piercing, but the sword is slashing and piercing. The staff is blunt, the flail is blunt, the axe is blunt and slashing. It's kind of weird. What would you guys classify a whip as? Would you say that's slashing? Would you say that it's blunt? Is it piercing? I don't think it's any of those three. But in order to balance out how many different times I'm calling on those types, I've decided to make it a blunt weapon. So here's the damage types. You know, I've already said some of them, but you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times we're calling on piercing, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 times we're calling on slashing. So I made the whip a blunt weapon so that we can 1, 2, 3, 4 call on blunt damage 4 times. Just so that no one element is left. Yeah, Crumpy, I thought so too. I just made it blunt. Obviously, spear is piercing damage. So it's doing more damage. You can see we're doing in the hundreds with the spear because this particular enemy takes 50% extra damage from piercing damage. But yeah. Another thing. I still have to go in and add the resize. I still need to go and resize the weapons for everything past the 2nd tier. So if we look at the note tags on the weapons, there's quite a few things that make them custom. They could be crafted, they have their own color, they have upgradable slots if I put the other system in, not the materia system, but like the permanent enchantment system. They're calling on a special weapon, which I've had to load from Yanfly's default and manually resize in Photoshop, which I have to do to all of them. I wish there was a note tag to just resize them. That would be a lot easier. But, I'll just resize them all in Photoshop if I have to make them match a little bit better. I'm using a replace attack with Yanfly's Weapon Unleash. They can be disassembled to turn into ingots. They can be bought and sold with a different currency. So lots of stuff is going on with each weapon, So there's a lot going on underneath the hood of all of the systems that are in place. You can see the same thing applies to all of them. Right now I'm still using the default weapon image for everything past the 2nd tier, so I still have to resize like 150 more pictures. It's gonna take a few hours. And the same thing for the weapons, or the same thing that I have on the armors that I do in the weapons. They could be bought and sold for different currencies. They could be taken apart for ingots. They've got slots if I want to use the other enchantment system. They've got custom color. They could be crafted. Just a lot of stuff's going on. What I want to do is use Yanfly's icon generator and create custom colored icons for the chest pieces and for all of the armors as well as the weapons. The weapons have already been created by Yanfly, and I imagine he's going to do the armors. If he hasn't already, I'm pretty sure he hasn't, but I'm going to check after this actually. Otherwise, I'm going to use Yanfly's Yanfly's icon generator to create the different colors for all of these different chest pieces and gloves and everything. Because right now they're all using the same icon. You can see that. I mean, the weapons look all cool. They have different icons up here, different colors. And then the armors, they have the same icons, which it just sticks out like a sore thumb to me. So that's one thing I'm looking into and I'm going to adjust. I've added the necklaces are going to be the slot of item you use to enhance certain to add potency. I'm calling it potency, but it's basically Yanfly's element core at work here using element amplify. And the note tag is simple. It's right here, and you put in the number of the element and then how much you want to change it. And I tested this with skills by giving it a direct number of 100, and then giving it the element amplify 2 plus 10, and then it made fire damage do 110 damage. So that's it seems to work how I would want it to work. I know he recently updated yesterday or 2 days ago or something like that to add in element magnify. I haven't messed with that yet. I might add some new stuff that does magnification, but right now I like how amplify works, so I'm going to use it how it is. So the +1, just, you know, like I said, it kind of works similar in all of the different +1, +2. You know, a potion will give you 200 HP, and then a +1 will be 400. So the same thing applies when you're using a pendant. The +1 is double that, and then it's triple the original, then quadruple the original. So you can see the fire potency goes up to 40% with the +3. Same thing for all of the elements, and I've just called them pendant of insert element here. Except for the physical ones, I've just called that spiked necklace, because I thought pendant of physical sounded stupid, so I renamed that one. Yeah, and they've got, these are all going to be added, be able to be crafted as well, except I'm going to be using gems for that as well. So gems are not only going to be what you would use to craft certain items, like enchantment materia type items. You're going to need gems for those upgradable, socketable materia type things, but also for pendants and rings and other stuff like that. I probably won't make accessories that add to stats, because you're already going to be gaining a ton of stats from all of the other equipment that you have unlocked. So what I'm going to do with rings and like necklaces and possibly back as well is add special parameters, maybe even wristbands as well. They're all going to be upgradable so that you can have, like, you know, +1, +2, +3, but maybe +4, probably not any +4s. If I do make +4 items, it'll be like certain rare weapons that you have to do long quests to upgrade, but that's way end game. But yeah, I'm gonna make it so that you would have to find these gems off of different creatures and then craft them up to higher tiers. You can see that these have buy sale prices, as well as the ability to craft the next tier. And you'll use these to create like pendants and certain other rings and stuff. So all of the gems are in ranked tier system. Basically a system that I started with Legend of Driftwood and didn't really get too in depth because that was more story based, but this is going to be like dungeon grindy, lots of items, lots of character progression, not so much story, especially for the scope of the game. I want it to be a very repeatable game, but you can actually play multiple times, and it's going to be a completely different outcome the second time through. Most likely there'll be a lot of similarities, especially because the player will have some choice as to what. Actually, I'm giving the player a ton of choice on what they can buy, but they'll be able to have different gameplay if they decide to. Say this time you want to focus on more of a magic-based build, or more of a instead of upgrading each tier, you know, skip a tier and upgrade to the next tier. But we'll get into more of that. So how I'm doing the crafting system is I'm giving the player the ability to disassemble items from anywhere. Once they've talked to the NPC, you get the disassembler, which will just let you take apart any items and turn those into ingots and stuff. But you can craft all these items, and I'm using that through a plugin command. Oh, this is the gear swap. Where's the guy? I moved him right here. So when you tell the player, this NPC, that you want to synthesize an item, I'm basically using a plugin command to open up the recipe book. Instead of giving the player the recipe book and opening it up on the menu like I did in the Legend of Driftwood, I wanted to just differentiate a little bit and make the player leave the dungeon to actually have to do like crafting. It would make more sense that way. So the plugin command for that is open synthesis, and then you type in whatever it is. If it's a weapon or armor or an item, then you type in this, and then you type in recipe. And at first I thought, okay, well, you would do a plugin command. If I wanted to craft, like, say, a weapon that was in slot 11, I would go weapon 11 recipe. That's not how it works. You create the recipe book, and then you use the plugin command to reference the recipe book. So that took me a little while to figure this plugin command out, how it works. But once you figure it out, it's really simple. So we can see when the player says I want to craft armors or I want to synth armors, it's doing a plugin command for item 327. Let's look at item 327. So item 327, synth armors, we have the recipe in here. So the note tag armor recipe 51 to 63 and 71 to 83 and all of these. So these are all the armors that you're going to be able to craft. So when I call that plugin command, it's looking at all of these items here and seeing if they have synthesis ingredients. So let's look at armor 51 and so forth. Now, if these items didn't have this right here, synthesis ingredient, then it would just be, you wouldn't see it. It wouldn't show up on the list. So the item has to be, in order to craft an item, you have to call it with the plugin command. You have to reference the book, which is your recipe book, that shows the number in the armor recipe, and the armor has to have the synthesis ingredients. If there's a typo or you don't include any of those steps, it won't show up and you'll be confused. So hopefully that clears it up for anybody who was asking earlier. But yeah, lots of different fundamental systems that are put into place. Still doing, like I said earlier, the framework of the game, building the database before we do too much of the beginning storyline and the more map design and all of that. Right now I want to spend a little bit of time starting the lapidary arts. What's cool about Yanfly's plugins is, like, they utilize the engine. You don't have to go out of your way too much to make them work. I know I've used other crafting systems where you had to reference like so many item numbers just to go back and forth, and it was very I don't want to talk down on any other plugins, but it's pretty cool how this one is set up. So I'm using multiple currencies, and I could just set this up as a normal shop like I normally would, as if they costed gold, and then I would put a note tag that it costs certain items to get this, and then the plugins will just come in and say, okay, you need these items to get it, instead of having to make all these systems myself. Really awesome. So this crafting, this lapidary arts vendor is going to sell all of the first tier rubies, all the first tier gems. And when doing this, you see how we would select an item, we have to scroll all the way down. I found a little trick that helps me. What you do is you copy with Control-C, then you paste with Control-V. You right-click and edit, and then it'll set you right where you were at, so you can just go to the next one. And there's a little bug that I hope they fix eventually, and we'll come across it as I'm doing this, that puts you back at the top of the list. But I've found a way around it, so this saves a lot of time by doing it like this. I'm sure we're going to come across the bug, and I won't mention it unless we do. Well, actually, I'll mention it either way, but I'm sure we'll come across it first. Maybe we won't. Basically what happens sometimes is when you click on an item, instead of remembering where you're at, it'll take you back to the top of the list. And then you have to scroll down and find where you were at, and that gets annoying. But there's a way to get away from that little bug. That happens rarely. It happens sometimes though. So it didn't happen through this time, but every now and then you'll go through the list and you want to select the next item on the list, but it takes you all the way back to the top and it puts you right here. And you're like, I gotta scroll down and find it again. But what you can do is hit cancel, and then scroll down and right click and do it again and try again. If you just try to click it again, once it goes to the top, like, and selects this one to scroll down, if you close the menu and open it up again, it keeps you right there. It doesn't take you back. But if you cancel and then edit again, there's a chance it'll just go right back to where it needs to be, like that. So a little trick around that bug. But you can see we added all of those items in no time. Not a lot of scrolling required, really. And you see these all have a price of 0. But if we look at them in game, I think I've already set them for cost. I'm pretty sure I have. I need to look at them again, but we'll just look at them in game. So we're selling them for 0. Oh, the player's going to be able to have infinite. Just get infinite, right? Not if you put the note tags. You can see that instead of gold, now we're requiring this currency, which I'm calling greenbacks. It's just a green token. And you can even use variables as your currency, which is really neat. So we're able to buy the tier 1s, and you can use 10 of the tier 1s to craft the tier 2 gems. But with the gems, you're going to be able to craft the pendants and all the other items and stuff. But I think that's probably going to be where we cut this episode. I might do one more thing really quick. I'm going to start working on the enemy creation. So what I want to find is like a cloud, like a smoke cloud, or maybe I'll use no, because I use those for teleporters too. I could use like a dancing flame, but that wouldn't make sense really. Something that's like basically I'm looking for a battle cloud animation. I might even use this, but you know those cartoony like battle clouds with like arms sticking out of them and swords and axes sticking out of them. Something like that moves around the map and slowly chases the player. That would be what I'm sort of looking for. We're gonna go with this for right now, until I find one or make one. And we're gonna have this approach the player at a very lower frequency and slower movement, and we'll have it stepping and direction fixed, but it is going to be walking, and you can't walk through because it's going to be same level as character, and we're going to have it as event touch. So that's going to trigger the battle a little bit faster than player touch, because if the player walks by but it hasn't, the event hasn't made its move, which only moves every so many seconds, which is determined by its frequency, you can actually walk right next to it. If you walk fast enough, you won't get attacked if you use player touch. But if you want the player to be attacked, if it comes in contact of it from even if the image isn't moving, then you do event touch. So if the player walks anywhere near it, like within those 4 tiles above it, below it, left or right of it, then it'll trigger and it'll run the contents. So we'll call this battle cloud. We might as well call it a number, give it a number too. We're just going to do 5, but we'll just say L1. So what's going to happen when the player touches the battle cloud, it's going to, I guess we'll do a shake screen. Very not wait for completion. We're just going to do like 10 frame, very like quarter of a second, which would be 15, but that's okay. Not very much power or something, just a little shake. And a little flash, but not super intensity. We're not trying to cause any seizures. A little bit more tinted red. We don't need wait for completion. We'll also have that 10 frames. And we'll have battle processing. I'm also going to use one of Yanfly's plugins that he came out with not too long ago that's going to let you, if you approach the battle cloud and you're the one who initiates it, then you'll get like a preemptive attack. And if you're standing still or running away and then the battle cloud like flanks you or comes from behind, then it'll be like surprise attack. But I'll add that in a minute. Let's just go with a random battle. You can escape, but you can't lose. It'll be game over if you lose. So you can escape. In the event of escape, I'm going to have to do a movement event, but I don't know, because if we do a movement event, we could skip if cannot complete. I don't want to lock up the game after a battle, but what I might do is erase event. So even if you, Because if I don't do an erase event or control its switch, that'll turn it off. I'm gonna, yeah, instead of erase event, I'm gonna do a switch, because I want these to be like refresh. It won't be like one time you beat it. I want them to be able to be turned back on with the flip of a switch. So what we're gonna do, if you escape, actually if you win or if you escape, we're gonna do the same thing. It's gonna get rid of it. So we're gonna allocate some switches. We're using a ton of variables, not too many switches. But what we're gonna do is keep the first 20 for system events, but we're gonna use the second set of 20 for combat clouds and battles and stuff. So this will be dungeon, battle, or we'll just call it battle cloud 1. We'll turn that switch on, and we'll copy that, paste that for it. Even if you escape, it'll act like you've beaten the cloud. You've managed to take that off the map. But this new page, okay, battle. So that this will get rid of it. If this is on, then it'll be gone. But upon exiting the dungeon, so do you want to exit the dungeon? You say yes. We're going to control switches, and we're going to turn that back on. So as you're leaving this event, not this one, but this event, as you leave, this event comes back. So the next time you come in here, this is back again. So I'm probably going to adjust the speed and frequency, but I want to test it out real quick and look at how that's working. Give me some stuffs. I need to figure out why we can't access our chemistry skill in battle. I'm sure I can figure that out somehow. We do have our chemistry skill from the menu, but I would like to make offensive chemistry skills. So I definitely want that in battle. I might have to make it so that you would have to equip these like so in order to use them. But I would like it to be like a standalone thing, so you always have access to chemistry skills, because they're going to be consumable by items. You can see this battle cloud is slowly approaching us, so we could easily juke it and get by it, right? So this is going to probably eliminate some frustration on the player, because sometimes you want to battle and you want to grind. Sometimes you just want to rush through something, right? You want to get to the next point. And so now the player has the option. They could either take the battle if they want to, or they can just skip it. It's fine. I mean, it's about progressing your character, but having fun too. So if you want to skip some battles, you can. We activate our switch. We don't have to, fight all the little bosses. If we just want to grind the mega bosses, we go over here, fight our mega boss, which we're going to design. And then once you beat the mega boss, you'll have the option to just be teleported out at that point. So it'll be an option, so you can stay in the dungeon and beat the mega boss first and come back and use the restore point, or kill the other creatures that you were trying to fight. And you could always exit from the main exit over there. But let's take a look at the event if we walk by it really quickly. Oh, we got by it, right? Boom. Boom. So this means we need to adjust it. We shouldn't be able to walk by it. What if I stand here? And it comes to me? Okay, yeah. Also, we need to set a background, so let's do that too. Priority, same as character, event touch. Let's set its frequency to highest. Movement speed of the character, frequency of autonomous movement. Oh, okay, what we need to do, this is how fast it animates, and this is how fast it moves. So we'll have it animating super fast, but moving at a normal pace. Maybe a little slower than that. lower. Also, upon the creation event, which is handled not in that at all, the creation event is right here. Oh, the reason, okay, I don't want to put the battle background creation event right here. I will make a separate creation event or each dungeon itself, because you're going to have 100, 50 to 100 different dungeons, and you don't want them all to have the same battle background. So as a general rule, I put all my creation events in the top left corner, and it will be an auto run. And this is basically just going to do a few things. Atmosphere. I might even specify music effects for this too. Or not music effects, background sound. That's what I meant. Very low on the volume of that. And all of the background music will be put in as at the very end of the game, because I need to touch on what beats we're actually trying to do. Is this a sad moment? Is this a triumphant moment? There won't be too many story-based elements, but you definitely want your music to tell a lot of the story. What am I looking for? I am looking for tent screen. Dark is gonna, I think it was, yeah, night adds like some blue. We'll go like this a little bit. We don't want to wait for completion. We want that to be instant. So we're gonna just set the scene, and we're gonna set the battle background. Suppose that would work, but let's see what else we got. Probably earth. Go with the earth one, or the dirt. Or I think it's called rock cave or something like that. That's sort of like deserty, but I think that could work if we get the right walls. Yeah, that'll work. That's fine. It's not a cliffside. It's not really wasteland. I think that works better. The dirt cave. Let's go with that. That makes more sense. But also, we need to do an erase event here. Otherwise, it'll just lock up the game. And that'll make it come back each time. So it erases the event, but then when we leave the map and come back, it'll run this again and disappear again. So we'll just call this setup. Alright, now we need to test it. We also changed the font. The font I'm using in the game is called Draconis, so you can find that for free. It's not free for commercial games. Hey Zenwing, it's not free for commercial use, but it's free for personal use. So you can just go to Google and type in, free fonts. You'll find a million of them. How do you say your name? Is it Shenwing? I thought Xe was Chinese for like Shen. But I don't know, I'm not a linguist. Alright, so it's moving a lot quicker. I don't like the dash, so we're gonna adjust that a little bit more. We're gonna lower his frequency, but I think he moves around fast enough. He's avoidable, but if you stand still for too long, he'll get you. Wait, did he run away? Oh, there is a random. It's not exactly 100% moving towards the player. When you do approach, there's like, it'll go towards you like 3 times, and then it'll walk away 1. There it is. Like 3 or 4 times. There's some random RNG element to that approach, which makes sense. Otherwise, if they move at the same speed as the player, that'll always catch you, because the player will eventually like go up and then down and like hit the wall and make mistakes. So they have to have some sort of random element to give the player ability to run away. It already feels a lot better with the lowering the lighting in the cave, and I can't really tell from the sound because it's so low, but I think subtlety is a good thing. We'll keep the music effect, not music effects, I keep saying that, the background sound at a very low volume. I might bring it up just a little bit more. We walk by. Yeah, so I'm gonna lower his frequency. I like that. That's really nice. I might even change, so I want to do a little tweaking here. We're gonna go that to 25%, and we're gonna change just a little bit darker. Yeah, but that was pretty good. But I also need to test to see if the erase event, I know it's working fine, but I want to test it to go in and go out. Even when you create it, whenever you make changes to your game, you're like, oh, I know this is going to work. It doesn't hurt to test it, you know. That's probably too dark, right? It's like X-Wing. Okay. X-Wing. Also, see, something I overlooked. When you leave the map, you're going to have to change edit the setup for this room as well. So we'll do that really quickly. 2 things. Change this so that the frequency is, or actually the speed is a little bit slower, the frequency is a little bit higher. And I want to test that one more time. And I did feel that that made it a little bit too dark. It was almost perfect beforehand. Let's just go back up a little bit more. A little bit more. A little bit more. And let's copy paste this to the hub. We'll put this over here. Except we're not going to play that. Actually, we are going to specify, we're going to play a background sound of none. And what that's going to do is, if there is a background sound that's being played, it's no longer going to be played. It's going to turn it off. We're going to tint the screen to normal. And we're going to set the battle background. It shouldn't matter here. We're not going to get into many fights here, but I do already have that in this event, I believe. So we'll just take what I already made. And because we're doing that, we can get rid of it in the test event. That shouldn't matter too much. Yeah, that's probably good for this episode. Went on a little bit longer because I've made a lot of changes. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. If you have, please give it a like, a favorite, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Thank you guys for coming to the live stream. I really appreciate all of you, Crumpties and Wing. And let's see who else did I miss. Zarsla, Gambit Ben, Pixel, you're the man, dude. Thanks for coming. Crazy One. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you guys for watching this video on YouTube. And if you have any special requests, put them in the comments below. If you'd like to make an item in this game, or you'd like to make a certain NPC or boss or whatever, let me know your ideas in the comments below, and I will be sure to read them. And if I like the ideas, I'll add them to the game, and we'll make this another community project. And once again, I'm making this project for you guys because I love you guys. You guys are awesome, and I'm gonna make this game for free. You know, I'm gonna put this game out there for you guys to play absolutely free once it's completed. If you want to beta test it, it's not ready for beta testing, but you know it will be in a month or two. You could always back me on Patreon and make a request, and I'll issue out I'll put it on Google Drive for you guys to beta test, and that'll help me out too. So you could always back me on Patreon, but you don't have to. You could always just watch my videos and join the live streams. It's perfectly fine if you can't back me. I completely understand. But you guys are awesome. I'm going to let you guys know. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you in the next episode of Let's Make a Game for the Dungeons of Driftwood.